Welcome to this brand new 3D technology. Ooh, watch it doesn't poke your eye out. Hey guys, welcome back. We're continuing our Friday the 13th review series today with part 3, the 3D film. Let me tell you, even just talking with these on without watching the movie is giving me a headache. Woof. Bad idea. I am not alone, guys, in this Friday the 13th review series. We got the boys over at Good Real Hunting. We got Filthy Dan's film discussion. We got Moser movie reviews and reviews and rankings with Robbie Sobel. All of their channels will be down in the description, guys. Go check them out. Every Friday, we're all putting out our own Friday 13th reviews. Very exciting. And if that's not enough, head on over to House of the Living Dead's channel, where every Friday night, they're doing a watch party to match the films that we're reviewing. So very exciting stuff. Go give them some love. So without further ado, let's jump into this bad boy. So Friday the 13th Part 3 was released in 1982, and it stars Dana Kimmel, Tracy Savage, and Richard Brooker playing the big bad Jason. And this one was directed by Steve Miner, just like Part 2. I have watched this movie in old 3D before a few times, and let me tell you, it was no fun. Like, it does work at times with the little 3D stuff coming at you, but it's not worth the headache. You're not going to sit there for an hour and a half with these on. It gives you a headache, and that's all it is to it. So I never usually watch it with the 3D anymore. I go straight to 2D. But I would love to see this on a real 3D TV to see if it makes any difference, because I heard that was pretty good. But I'll have to buy a 3D TV someday, I guess, to find out. So since the movie isn't 3D, I'll start off by talking about that. That's like a gimmick that was going around in the early 80s at the time. There was like a revival of 3D. And this was one of the first movies to get on the bandwagon. Like Jaws 3D, a bunch of them did it. And yeah, it doesn't add anything good to the film. I'll say that. Nothing positive. Like I said, it gives you headaches. And it's like the film tries too hard to always do something 3D in every scene instead of focusing on the film itself. So I think if they'd actually removed that gimmick, it would actually make this movie a lot stronger, in my opinion. But it is cool that we did get one entry with the 3D. And this film's, again, coming off just another year off the sequel. So we had one in 80, 81, and now 82. 3 movies, which is pretty crazy. All making fairly good amounts of money, too, for the budget they had. So getting into the story of this one, again, we start off with, like, flashbacks, or not so much flashbacks. It's just pretty much showing you what happened in the previous film. So we pretty much get the whole last act, like the whole ending of Part 2 in this. Which I gotta be honest, I pretty much fast forward every time, because when you're, like I said, when you're marathoning these bad boys, it gets hard to go through all those intros every time. So yeah, it basically shows Ginny and Jason and them all fighting in his shack, and it ends the only scene we haven't seen in the old one with Jason crawling away to show that he survived. Now Jason has a completely different look in this movie. As you remember in Part 2, he had the sack head, the farmer look. And in this one, he has more of like a green button-up shirt, bald head and everything. And a lot of people have a problem with this because they say it's inconsistent with the Part 2. Which it kind of is the first couple times you watch it. But if you pay attention, there's a scene at the very first after he leaves his shack and he goes to the convenience store. And how they have a laundry line outside. You actually see him outside with his farmer clothes on. So They did keep it. It's very short. It's hard to tell, and it's in the dark. But if you watch, he still has his overalls and his like a blue button-up shirt that he had as Farmer Jason. He does have a bald head, however. But in Part 2, when he crashed through the window, that was a dream sequence. So he could have always had a bald head, because we never did get to see what Ginny and what Paul sees when they take the sack off his head, because the camera pans away. So maybe he was bald the whole time. We don't know. The film takes a few liberties, but it does work. It could still be Jason from part 2. But before we get Jason stealing clothes off the clothesline, we do get the intro credits. And with a badass version of the score of Friday the 13th. This is nothing like the other ones. This is more like disco-y, groovy, a little bit of sci-fi mixed in there. And it's a hell of a good time. I play this song all the time when I'm not even watching this movie. So I just love the song at the start. Anyway, this film takes place right after part 2, like literally like the next day. So we're still in 1985. Now don't forget that, people, because like I said, this timeline is going to get messy. Anyway, going back to Jason at the convenience store, he steals the clothes off the line, and the girl that lives and works there, she like confuses him for her husband when they don't even look alike or the same height or anything. And that happens a lot in this film. There's so many people that mistake other people for Jason. Like, it happens a lot, like at least 3 or 4 times. And you're like, come on, as if everybody thinks that is not Jason, it's someone else. Like, is that you, Shelly? Or is that you, Chuck? Or is that you? It's like, come on, how many people's gonna make this mistake? So eventually, Jason just kind of sneaks around the store and kills off the 2 owners, the husband and wife. And then we cut to our new group of victims, if you will, heading over to Higgins Haven, which is on a different part of Crystal Lake. We get quite the bunch in this one. I do enjoy most of them. Our main lead is Chris Higgins, which I personally find the most gorgeous out of all the final girls. She is my favorite for looks. Not my favorite for fighting back or nothing, but she is in top 3 for that as well. So I really do like Chris Higgins. And the rest of her crew includes Shelly, which is the prankster. He's always looking for attention. He's kind of misunderstood and a little socially awkward. That's why he does these pranks and that, because he feels that's the only way people would like him. But ironically, everybody hates him for those pranks. And he is also the reason why Jason gets his iconic hockey mask in this film, which we'll get to. We also got Vera, who they pick up and is kind of Shelly's blind date in this film. We get Debbie and Andy. Debbie is pregnant, and her and Andy are boyfriend-girlfriend. And the other 2 victims that we get are 2 stoners. One looks like Tommy Chong or something. It's like, these guys are so out there. It's like, how are they hanging out with these people? It just seems weird. He seems like he's like 45. Not so much his girlfriend, but the Julie, I think her name is. But Chuck and Julie, it's like, they don't seem like they belong with this crew at all. It's like, how do they even know these people? Is it like their aunt and uncle? Or and I honestly think these 2 don't even have to be in the movie. Like, they really don't serve a purpose other than dying. And it just seems weird. I would take them out personally. So they're all getting in the van and they're all heading on down to Chris Higgins' lake house. That's why it's Higgins Haven. And she has a past with this place. We only find out later in the movie that she was assaulted by Jason, or who she thinks is Jason or whatever, in the woods a few years back before this. And it doesn't give too much information on this, but it almost makes it seem like Jason like raped her and kidnapped her or something, and then brought her back to her house. But then again, she said she woke up in her bed and her parents said that none of that really happened. So maybe it was just a crazy dream she had. Which I kind of think it must have been a dream in my head, because it's not really something Jason would do. And when she's having flashbacks of it, Jason's actually wearing the new clothes he just acquired with the bald head and that. So it's like, doesn't really add up. But on their way to Higgins Haven, they run into an alternate version of Crazy Ralph. He's pretty much just as crazy, but maybe even more crazy. He gives a little bit of warnings, but he's also like holding an eyeball and shit. Another just 3D gimmick. But yeah, I found that pretty cool that they kept the Crazy Ralph train going, even though his name's not Ralph, but he reminded me a lot of that character. Once they arrive at Chris Higgins' lake house, Rick is already there waiting for her. And he is like kind of like an ex-lover of Chris, or like an old friend that may have had something for Chris, like a crush on her or whatever. We don't really find out too much about him either. We just know that he has a past with Chris and he is from this place. And lastly, the last character I want to talk to you guys about is the Burn. It might as well be a freaking character. We spend more time watching the Burn in this movie than anything else. And if someone has only watched this movie for the first time and is like kind of confused on which Friday the 13th which, just tell them the one with the barn, the 3D one with the barn. They'll be like, oh, they'll know right away. Because, man, there's a lot of burn in this film. And there's also this biker gang that Shelly and Vera have a little confrontation with at the store when they go to leave for a sec. They get some supplies. And not much really comes of it. The biker gang sneaks up on them at Higgins Haven and pretty much doesn't do anything because they get picked off by Jason before anybody even realizes they're there. And that's one problem I have with this film is the pacing. Because the bikers get killed off 40 minutes into the movie. Well, it only starts around 40 minutes into the movie. And you're like, man, this is only an hour and a half. And then you literally have to wait another 20 minutes before Jason starts picking off all of the young adults that showed up. So it's like, man, this is taking a long time to get going. It's not that I'm not entertained within the first hour of the film. It's that we came here to watch a bunch of young teens or young adults get murder off in these really cool ways. So we don't want to wait a whole hour for that to happen. So in that regard, I would kind of consider this a slow burn. But let me tell you, once that fire catches in that 1 hour mark, from 1 hour to an hour and a half, it's just non-stop action, man. It's just boom, it just doesn't stop. First off, Shelly gets picked off and Jason steals his hockey mask. And that's where we get the iconic hockey mask, guys. Funny thing is, Shelly's been crying wolf the whole film, pranking people, making people think that he's like dead half the time when he's just joking. Well, guess what? He really was dying this time and he was seeking help. And I think it was Julie that ends up running into him, thinks he's faking it and is like, go away, Shelly. And it's like, man, you shouldn't have cried wolf this many times before, or like all these pranks before, because as if no one's going to believe you now. Then we end up with two very memorable kills in this film. One being Vera's death when Jason's walking up to her with the harpoon and she's in the water. Again, she mistakes him for Shelly. She's like, oh, I dropped your wallet. And it's like, have you seen Shelly? Like, come on. He looks nothing like him. His physique is totally different. Anyway, she gets his badass kill with the harpoon. Kind of the only time the 3D kind of works. You see it going through the screen and into her eye. And it's pretty badass. But the best part about that kill is the way Jason walks away like a goddamn boss. He just like drops the harpoon and is like, man. And let's talk about Jason real quick, okay? Before we talk about other kills. Richard Brooker is menacing as hell. Sure, the sackhead Jason was by Steve Dash was frightening. It was probably one of the creepiest looks. But man, Richard Brooker's Jason is built like a ship brick house. He's someone you don't want to come in contact with. He's essentially like Arnold Schwarzenegger we're donning the mask. He just looks menacing, threatening, and not someone I would want to come in contact with at all. Just a huge, huge presence Jason has in this film. When you do see him, it's like, holy shit, that dude is scary. And obviously, he dons the iconic hockey mask we all grow to love. We would have never got it without Shelly, so props to Shelly on that one. Now that we got Jason out of the way, I want to talk about my other favorite kill, which is Andy's kill. And it's funny, because the whole first half of this film, he was walking on his hands, doing handstands. And you're like, that's going to have to do with something the way he dies. Like, you just know it has to lead to something. And it does. Jason, like, hides around a corner while he's doing his handstand, coming around, and Jason gets him between the legs, right down, splits him down the middle, and you're like, you feel it, man. It hurts. As a man, especially, you're like, oh. But the best part is the reveal later when his girlfriend's in the hammock, in bed, reading the Fangoria magazine, and the blood starts dripping down, and she looks up, and you literally see him, like, split open, like, up in the rafters of the ceiling, and it looks so awesome. One of the best reveals in the whole series. So yeah, this film has some great kills, but it also has some pretty damn bad kills as well. One being Rick getting his head crushed by Jason and his eyeball popping out. This does not look practical at all. It looks super corny and like plasticky. And it's just like there's no blood, there's no gore. It's just like a really cheap, you can tell it's a fake head too when he's right before he crushes it and the eye comes out. And this kill just never sat well with me. It's more corny than anything. And the other bad kill in this film is Julie. This is also one of the worst acting we've ever seen in Friday the 13th. Julie in this scene, oh my god. She's running around the house, panicking, like, oh my god, oh my god, Shelly's dead, oh my god. And she's just literally like going around the whole house. It's like, oh my god, for like 2 minutes straight. And the way she's doing, she's like going up the stairs saying it, coming back down the stairs saying it, and like holding herself like, oh my god. And just the way her delivery is, it's just so bad, man. It's definitely in the top 3 worst acting in the series, and I'll give it number 1 at this point. Like, so far, it's pretty damn bad. And her death itself is kind of stupid, too. Jason kind of just pokes her with the hot poker, which sounds cool, but she basically walks right up to him for him to do it while she's complaining the whole time. So, yeah, I thought I'd mention that, guys. Then we're left with just Chris and Jason in one of the best final acts in the whole series. As of right now, I'm going to give it my number 1 final girl runabout with Jason. Like the whole final act where the final girl runs around with him. This is my favorite at this point. The movie may be a little slow at first, but once we get Chris and Jason on their own, it's non-stop fun, action, thrills, the whole goddamn thing. And this all starts with her calling out, Rick, Rick, and boom, you want Rick? He's coming right through the damn window at you. Dead, obviously. And the way Jason walks into the window, like the way he looks, so cool. One of the coolest looks and stances of Jason. Just the way he comes in that window, I love it. Always loved that scene. And it just plays out awesome. Like, she ends up running upstairs, shooting books at him, hiding in the closet. You think he got her. He's beating down the door, but she's tough enough to grab a knife of a dead body and stab him in the hand. Doing a bunch of crazy shit, coming out with the knife, stabbing him with in the leg. And it's like, now this is a fighter. Like, I loved how Ginny used like more of her smarts against Jason with like the child psychology stuff. But man, Chris is using her own power. And like I said, when she's fucking gorgeous like that, it's awesome to see her fight back too. It's just like, yes, this woman's the whole package. And yeah, they run around outside, she's smashing with wood, and it all leads to one of my favorite characters, the barn. Who would have thought? Anyway, they end up at the barn. A bunch of shit happens. He can't find her. She's hiding and stuff until eventually she gets the best of him. Puts a rope around his neck. Shoots him out of the front door of the barn on the 2nd floor. He goes down and he's choking from the noose. And yeah, a lot of people talk about this scene too, where she opens the door and he's there. And then he goes and lifts his mask. And a lot of people's like, it's funny. He just showing his face to her. But I always believed he lifted his mask to take off the rope. I figured that was just an easier way to get the rope off around his neck. Because with the mask there, maybe it would have been too hard. I don't know. But that was just my theory, personally. You're going to have to rewatch it again and let me know what you guys think. Because I know a lot of people have that question. Why does Jason show his face to her? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's because the rope's around his neck. And all in all, it ends with Chris taking the axe to his head and finishing him off. Not dead, though, but he's dormant for at least the rest of this movie, until part 4. But of course, if you've been following my reviews, you know by now, these movies don't end this way. They end with a jump scare and a dream sequence. And this film is no different. The only problem is, it's done a lot worse, in my opinion. Especially the jump scare. The whole act leading up to the jump scare is actually really freaky, though. Chris gets into a canoe and she's in the lake, eventually looking up at the barn and seeing him scratching, or I don't know if it's the barn or the house, I can't remember, but he's up in the top window and he's like scratching at the door with his fucking mongoloid face there, and you're like, that's fucking creepy. And eventually him running down, busting through the door and just running towards the lake at full tilt. You're like, holy shit. Now, like I said, this is such a menacing Jason. Like, especially without the mask at this point. But they had to fuck it all up by her looking back, him being gone. Oh, it was all a dream. Then that stupid goddamn mother of his jumps out of the water and grabs her. And it's like, this doesn't work. Number 1, Pamela didn't drown, so what the hell is she doing in the water? Number 2, she got her goddamn head cut off. She got decapitated. So, like, and I don't know, I just found it was stupid. I never liked this, even as a kid. This jump scare felt cheap to me, and I felt like they just tried copying what 1 and 2 did. I know 2 copied 1, but they still did it good. This one is not done good at all. Although I do really like Jason scratching the window and all that scene, but as soon as he comes out of the house, it's ruined for me. And the film officially ends with Chris getting in an ambulance, or laughing like she's crazy. Like it's almost like the ending of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in this one. Like the final girl went through so much that she's lost her mind. But yeah, that's basically all my thoughts on part 3, guys. I think it's a fairly good entry in this franchise. Not to say it doesn't have its flaws, like with the stupid 3D gimmicks and the little bit of a slow burn we get in here, but all in all, it's a very entertaining sequel. That final act is just amazing. So if I'm going to have to go ahead and slap a rating on this bad boy, I'm going to have to go ahead and give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think this is a very good slasher film, and it definitely adds in some iconic shit like the hockey mask and just the size and how menacing Jason can actually be. So what did you guys think of this entry? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'll be sure to check them out, guys. And don't forget to check out everybody else's channel and their reviews. That's gonna be in the description. Go check it out. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.